I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your
Race number 2 of the FMGTC season brings us to Southern California to a legendary track based under the mountains of the Mojave. Hi, hello, and good afternoon, race fans. It is a beautiful Friday afternoon in Rosamond, California, as we welcome you to the Willow Springs International Raceway for stop number 2 with the 2026 NR2003 FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship, the Napa, California Grand Prix. A pleasant good afternoon, everyone tuning in to today's coverage of FMGTC racing here on the North American Sim Racing Network, live on the NESRN. My name is Trey Wright. We just wrapped up MBCS qualifying a few hours ago for tomorrow afternoon's Duke Micronics 300K, and 20 of those MBCS drivers pulling double duty here this afternoon and tomorrow as they're belted into their Grand Touring machines ready to do 67 laps around the oldest permanent road course in America. It's been a fruitful weekend out west in Willow here on the NESRN so far, as the storylines have been aplenty across both the FMGTC garage area as well as the MBCS's garage area. Qualifying yesterday for both GT Le Mans and GT Daytona was a big point of drama, particularly in GTLM, as two of the biggest drivers in the field failed to qualify into the 21-car grid, those being Daytona 2.4 champion from just a month ago, Eric Monaco, in the big red number 2 Corvette, and the winner of the previous 2 races here at Willow Springs and the defending champion, the number 78 Corvette of Mike Vincent Jr. It's still very early on in the season, but with how big the field sizes are of 30 cars in 2026, paired to how small these grids are in comparison of only 21 cars getting in for each class, nobody is safe from failing to qualify, as we saw down in Daytona last month and saw yesterday afternoon for both GTLM and GT Daytona. Like every race here on the NESRN, chaos is caught fresh and it's on the menu for today's race. As we've seen in years past, this has always been a sneaky dramatic race here at Willow Springs. You go back to last year, the very start of the race, the entire top 5 of GT Le Mans all flipping down going into the Omega corner of turn number 4. And later on in the race, in the final couple of laps, the top 3 drivers in GT Le Mans taking each other out, going through the Monroe Ridge, and allowing Mike Vincent Jr. to skirt away to his second of 3 victories in last year's season of the FMGTC competition. But how chaotic this race usually is comes into a big part of how unique the 74-year-old track is. 9 different corners, none of them the same as the previous one. Castro Corner in turn 1 through to the sweepers of turns 8 and 9, and plenty of elevation in between, especially going through the Omega and the Taco Bell balcony. The action is going to pick up right from the drop of the green flag. Will we see as much chaos as last year? Will we see cars flying on top of one another and nearly out of the ballpark like we saw from Vincenzo Focusato in the Fuel Grand National Atlanta race a couple of weeks ago? Time will only tell, but with how short of a race this is, only 67 laps going on the board and only 1 pit stop for these drivers, there is zero room for error if you want a shot at winning at this historic facility. It's been a fun weekend so far for our only companion doubleheader between the FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship and the Mission Barbecue Cup Series, as it's time to bring the action and it's time to bring the noise. We send things down trackside from the most famous words in motorsports to light them up for race number 2 of the season for the Napa, California Grand Prix from Willow Springs.
drivers, start your engines!
42 racers roar to life in Rosamond as we're ready to rock and roll for race number 2. Here in Southern California, Bruno Giacomo, who failed to qualify for the Daytona 2.4 1 month ago, sits on the pole position for GT Le Mans in that number 12. Granger Westward, Jaguar XKR, in fact the Jag sweep in the front row in GT Le Mans. It's Taylor Lay in that virtual racing world Jaguar will round out row number 1 for GT Le Mans and GT Daytona. A driver who came tantalizingly close to giving the Monaco brothers a sweep down to Daytona Beach is that TNT Man number 93 machine. Connor Monaco will lead the field to the green flag in GT Daytona. The outside pole in GTD, Kyler Anderson in the Mopar 42, looking for a slightly better result from his DNF in Daytona 1 month ago. The field will go up through the Taco Bell balcony. Take a look at the track itself quickly before we get underway. 9 different corners on the track, and like we said at the top of the show, all of them vastly different from one another. In the Castro corner, a hard left-hander on lap number 1. Through the Rabbits here, the Omega, and all the way back around to turn number 9. It's 2.5 miles. So much fun racing here at Willow Springs. And like we said in the pre-race, only 1 pit stop in order for these drivers this afternoon. But it is a beautiful late February afternoon. The grass is about as green as it can be. We are ready to go here as the field will go through turns 8 and 9. Mike Vincent Jr., the back-to-back winner here for GT Le Mans, is not in the grid. But Alexander Rowe and Daniel Bouchard are. They start towards the rear end of the field in GT Daytona. Pace car is down the pit lane. It's Bruno Giacomo and Taylor Lay will lead this field of 42 horses strong to the green flag as we're underway for race number 2 from Willow Springs. A great launch right off of the start for Giacomo as we nearly had 3 wide back in there. Roberto Crown Jr. in that great Clips 33 trying to clip his way up to second, which he will do so. And we got 1 car going around. It's Rogel Dorn among with your GT Daytona winner from 1 month ago. Carson Miller, Kyler Anderson, and Joseph Wood are off in Omega. We had 1 other car. We had a couple of cars going upside down. That was one Carlos Espinoza, and out of the ballpark, it's Lauren Martinez in the 00. Landon Walker, Samat Oskin. I think that rounds out all of the cars, and you know what? We joked about cars going out of the ballpark in the pre-race. Lauren Martinez taking that as a challenge. John Andrews' development driver out of the race, and we could not even go 1 lap before everything going haywire. Oh, we got a couple of cars sideways and down into the pit lane. That was Bryce Egan in that number 16. He got loose off of turn number 9. An impressive save out of that safety clean Corvette. But that is going to significantly hurt his chances of winning this race, and he is going to be into the pit area. He was able to save it, keep it off of the middle attenuator. But like we said, we had some chaos on tap here. As more cars going around, 3 cars upside down, rather 3 cars into it, 1 upside down. Sarah Taylor, Angel Gutierrez, and Emily York Watson. So 2 cars upside down, not even a lap in, and Sarah Taylor making her season debut in that A&W 45 is junk. We got another car off course. It's Marcus Glitch and Will Parrish, and we knew that there was going to be chaos in the opening couple of laps. We didn't think that it was going to be this chaotic. But goodness gracious, we've got a lot to review, folks. Emily York Watson and Angel Gutierrez down in the pit area. Same thing for Sarah Taylor, and well, let's start off with what happened going through the Omega on lap number 1, and Lauren Martinez going for a wild ride outside of the track, or technically a little bit more inside depending on where you stand on that. Goodness me, that's such a... I don't want to say unorthodox because that's not as much as we expected. We expected there to be chaos. We didn't expect for that much chaos to start, as again, that all got started when Rogel Dorn broke sideways. And everybody's still on top of one another. Again, like we saw in the Daytona 2.4. In order to finish first, you first must finish. But everybody racing like it's a one-lap dash to the end of an ARCA race, and, well, there you go. You have what you got on laps number 1 and 2 of the race. Lap number 3 looks to be about as calm as you can ask for, as everybody has gotten pretty much single file. Got some cars leaning on each other like a couple of drunk lovers at prom. Those Philip Torres and Michael Lewis. Lewis making his season debut in that Ryobi 54. He'll be driving that exact same livery tomorrow afternoon at the in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series race. He, and along with Angel Gutierrez, will be in the field for tomorrow's 34-lap race. We'll see where those two will start. I believe they're relatively towards the back. Gutierrez will start in the 33rd spot tomorrow, and Michael Lewis, he will start 41st. So he'll be starting from the back end of the field, but he is getting his laps in early. Whoa, Philip Torres had a moment, and Aaron Abel in the fight for the race lead. All three leaders in GT Daytona take each other out. We are on lap number 4, guys, as the Colonel Caleb Rose also going around through Monroe, as well as the 07 Taylor Lay also going around. And these drivers, again, we haven't raced for a month, but apparently a lot of rust still needed to be knocked off. And my apologies, that was for second in GT Daytona's Esteban Lasser, who started this race all the way back. Where did Lasser start this race? He started this race in 12th for GT Daytona. He is now plus 10 after 5 laps. And Nathan Buchanan knocking on the rear end of the GT Le Mans field, with Michael Lewis falling back as he and Philip Torres have fallen back a little ways away. But wow, what a start to the race that this has been. It's Lauren Martinez and Kyler Anderson, the only 2 cars knocked out of the race so far. I believe Sarah Taylor, she is still on track after flipping going through the Taco Bell balcony. She is currently on the tail end of the lead lap. She might be a lap down. Emily York Watson started this race in 3rd, and that is such a shame for that Intel Jaguar. She has not had a good start to her FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship career, and neither has Will Parrish. That is the 2nd consecutive race he has been caught up in an incident in the opening couple of laps. And problems for Carson Miller. He is stranded all the way up at the top of the Taco Bell balcony. He was one of the drivers involved in that crash at the Omega corner on lap number 1. As it doesn't look like it's going to be 2 wins in a row for your Daytona 2.4 champion. A tough break for him and Angel Gutierrez and Bryce Egan with a hard crash elsewhere. Same thing for Landon Walker. And the field dropping right like fruit flies. We are on lap number 6, and we are already going to have at least 4 DNFs. And meanwhile, all this is, oh boy, it was almost, and now Roberto Crown Jr. runs into the 72, and Carson Miller goes around. And we were just about to say that it has been as quiet as a church mouse in the front of the field for GT Le Mans. And just like that, the 2nd place car, Roberto Crown Jr., runs right into the back end of the 72. And there was nothing that Crown Jr. could do. He was running in P2. And we'll have to see how much damage is on that Great Clips automobile. Looks like they're just going to repair the car. They're going to put 4 fresh BF Goodrich tires on it. The fact that he immediately came down the pit lane to repair things is not a great sign for that Great Clips number 33 machine. I'm a little bit scared to mention anything else. As Chris Harvey back in here in the 8, he's underneath of Logan Williams. Williams and Harvey, they're battling for 4th right now, along with Russell Blaze and John Andrews. Right now, if he's able to get around that 12 car, that would bookend the field for John Andrews' development drivers. Lauren Martinez out of the race. Carson Miller has retired. Same thing with Eric Blaze in the 009. So an issue for Blaze. We didn't even see Blaze on the pit lane. I'm not sure if he got caught up in some other incident. Angel Gutierrez has taken his car to the garage area. Bryce Egan soon to follow. And, well, I feel bad for future me who's got to edit all of these accidents in. Again, editing overlays into Premiere Pro is not ideal, and that's why I was kind of dreading this race with how tight my future schedule is. But we are only on lap number 8, and we have got maybe 8 or 9 different incidences to clip, but hopefully things turn down a little bit, as we've only got a handful of competitive cars still out on track. Egan has taken his car to the garage area. And it is, it's been a start. It has certainly been a start here at Willow Springs. In case you're just tuning in, well, you have, you've missed quite a lot, to say the very, very least. 6 cars out of the race so far. Only 2 of them belong in a GT Le Mans, as Landon Walker will finally come back out after being in the pit area for the previous 3 laps on track. And you know what, there are a couple of guys that we didn't get a whole lot of TV time for, is Egan and Gutierrez. That's the second time, if I'm not mistaken, those 2 have ran into each other this season. You go back to the Daytona 2.4, or I believe it was Egan who was, what was it, Anthony Joseph? I think it was Anthony Joseph in the 22, who was stuck coming out of the bus stop, and nothing that those guys could do. 3-car battle for 3rd right now in GT Le Mans. And again, with these qualifying sessions, it gives us a unique amount of time to talk about some of these guys, and it gives us a little bit more storylines to follow. And a storyline coming out of Daytona was that Owen Miles blew an engine. It was a camshaft failure, if memory serves me right, that kept him out of the Daytona 2.4, but he's in a pretty good spot right now, running in that 6th spot in that Exxon number 59 machine. Same thing for Kyle Wood, running in 7th in a Girasato's old car from 1 season ago. Wood failed to make the Daytona 2.4 after generating a wreck in the early stages of that race. And the same thing for Russell Blaze in the 86. He was caught up in that opening lap fiasco in the roar before the 2.4 for GT Le Mans, excuse me. He's right now running in 3rd in that Map Engineering 86 car. James Lawson up in here, Riley Sampson, the highest of the drivers that'll race tomorrow. Actually, Russell Blaze, the highest of the drivers that'll race tomorrow. And same thing for Logan Williams in the 86, or in the 6, I should say, running in that 4th spot. Like we said, 20 of these guys will belt up tomorrow afternoon for 34 laps around Rosamond, California's most legendary facility. Bradley Ream right now caboosing the top 10 right behind Riley Sampson and Mateus Bento. Like we said, he's been going to school a little bit here in that 20 machine. So he'll be racing for the first time in a stock car tomorrow, as Bento will start from 4th in tomorrow afternoon's 34-lap Juke Micronics 300K. Nathan Stapleton right now running in 12th, and back in here as we got more cars leaning on top of one another coming out of turn number 9. That was Dylan Matthews and Michael Lewis. Lewis has dropped off of the pace a little bit in that number 54. Currently the leader is Nathan Buchanan in GT Daytona. He's gotten around a couple of these GTLM cars. He's got Philip Torres right in the gun sights at the moment. Joseph Wood currently a lap down. He and Juan Carlos Espinoza among the GT Daytona cars that have been caught up in an incident so far, but Buchanan running pretty solidly right behind that 4 machine. Torres driving a former car that was formerly driven by Nathan Ormond back in 2024. He's under fire from the GT Daytona leader, a much faster GT Daytona leader by the looks of it. It's Buchanan trying to find a way around that number 4 Corvette to try and slice his way through a little bit more traffic in here. We'll check back with them in a moment. Sarah Taylor has been caught by the GT Le Mans leaders. Tough season opener for her in that A&W 45. It's John Andrews right on the rear end of that A&W Jaguar as the 2 Jaguars jockeying for spots. Andrews trying to go the long way around that Jag. Not able to do so, and he's going to lose a little bit of time to Russell Blaze in the 86. See if Andrews is able to get around Taylor going up through the balcony. He is losing a lot of time, especially to that 86 machine as he's just trying to give a little bit of a tap, and there he goes up through the Monroe Ridge. Blaze trying to gain a little bit more time on that number 3, but Andrews is going to shoot out a little bit, and he's clear of the 45. Blaze will be clear of the 45 as well, so this is going to be a good battle for second brewing. Like we said, tough season opener there for that 45 car, Sarah Taylor, especially with how decent of a season she had last year. You know, as a whole, in the back end of 2025, had a couple of wins in the Loves American Truck Series. I believe she had, I don't know if she had any wins last year. She's got a couple of wins in the FMGTC under her belt. But she will go and she will go a single lap down, and you know what? She's been upside down, but she's keeping on trucking. If I had a nickel for every time Sarah Taylor's been upside down in a race and remained in said race, I'd have 2 nickels. And you know what? It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. And you know, that 45 crew, credit is owed where credit is due. They do a damn good job of piecing back together race cars and getting her out there for any sort of other points that you can gain, especially in this system. There's only 12 races in the calendar, and not everybody is going to make all 12 races, so you can take points. You need to take points anywhere you can get them. So when Miles is going to be trapped behind the 45, we might see a slide job going up through turn 9. 59 have the slide job in him. He does not, but he's not going to even need the slide job as he's able to get around that stricken A&W Jaguar. Emily York Watson next up on the chopping block for GT Le Mans. But Bruno Giacomo, 13 laps led on the afternoon, and he has been on rails. You know, just as I say that, he catches up right to the back end of York Watson. He's got a 2-second lead over John Andrews. He tries to go the long way around that Intel Jag. Trying to loop it around and going through the Monroe Ridge. He'll have the inside lane. York Watson will have a little bit of a runoff for the corner, but holding on to that inside lane will be that Granger Jaguar. And again, you know, we said it in qualifying yesterday. Jaguars absolutely dominating in the queue. And right now, you know, even though a couple of them have been knocked out of contention, they still run 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to go back to Chris Harvey in 5th, the top running Chevrolet. And, well, for Toyota, actually James Lawson is up in here. He's in 8th, but the other 2 Toyotas pretty much out of contention with Caleb Rose. He's back in 20th on the grid, 14th or 15th, excuse me. No, 14th for GT Le Mans. So he was caught up in an incident on the Ridge. And Roberto Crown Jr., he is back in 15th for GT Le Mans. You know, that's a tough break for both of those guys. They're fighting for championships, and after how the Daytona 2.4 ended for those guys, they definitely want a little bit of mojo back on their side. But again, you know, you look at the point standings. You know, Eric Monaco, He's not going to be in this race. Mateus Bento would be the points leader, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. The way that things run right now, he's currently in 11th. Philip Torres is behind him a little bit. You got to go back to Riley Sampson. Actually, I think Riley Sampson, he's got 115. Well, Monaco has 150. We know that Monaco's not going to be the points leader, but you know, Bento and Sampson, that's only a 5-point gap between those two. I don't know. I mean, again, there's still plenty of time to go in this race, and we're not even halfway home, but we're approaching a third of the way home through what's been a wild Napa, California Grand Prix so far. Marcus Glitch next up on the chopping block, and same thing for Rogel Dorn, as now the tail end of the GT Daytona field is going to be caught here in short order by just how fast this Granger 12 car has been. Now, I think this is Giacomo proving a point. We talked about it in qualifying. We said it right as the cars rolled off the grid. But Giacomo was just 3 laps away from making the Daytona 2.4, and this is the guy that he bowed out of the Mission Barbecue Cup Series, just running the FM GTC here, trying to go full-time as much as he can. You know, and again, was just caught up in that horrifying crash where he hit Luna Farmer passenger side. Or no, it was driver's side in the roar before the 2.4 for GT Le Mans. He's knocked out of that race, had to watch the Daytona 2.4 from the sidelines, and here he is with a solid chance of winning this race right now here on lap 17. Again, we've got 51 laps to go. So things can still go wrong for all of these drivers, but Giacomo looking really pretty right now. Same thing for John Andrews in the 3. It's Andrews. I believe John Andrews would probably be the points leader if the race were to end right here and right now. When we go back, Michael Lewis down the pit lane. Any issues on the 54? No, I believe this might be a scheduled stop. I don't know why this will be a scheduled stop, as we're only on lap 17. Maybe he's trying to make it into a 2-stop race. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised, given some of the strategy we've seen in the past. But again, these guys can do about 40 laps, about 38 to 40 laps in terms of fuel. Connor Monaco, he's also down the pit lane. Same thing with the 07. Taylor Lay also in the pit area. We'll see if we get any other takers. I'm not sure. I don't think they were caught up in anything. I think everybody is just trying to get on a differing strategy than everybody else. But again, those were guys that were at the back end of the field that were off pace. Michael Lewis at the time, he was running. He was running behind Caleb Rose, so I'm not sure if there was some sort of issue or if that position is just based off of pit strategy. But again, he was behind Nathan Stapleton, and he was battling with Philip Torres back in there. But Torres, he might also be down the pit lane. And here we go. We're on lap number 18, and we got several cars coming down. So I think everybody's going to make this into a 2-stop race. Because again, these guys can do 40 laps on fuel. But again, we've seen some very interesting strategy calls over the years. This would be bold and brash, as Marcus Glitch will come down. And we aren't seeing any of the leaders come down the pit lanes just yet. So I'm thinking this might be a strategy for some of the stragglers in the back that have been caught up in some accidents. Emily York Watson is in the pit area. But right now, Bruno Giacomo has got the fastest lap in the race. He has not come down the pit lane just yet, but he's led all 18 laps. He's got the fastest lap in the race with a 1 minute and 13.074 second lap. And that last time, he was about a second, 1.2 seconds off the pace. So that's how much things have dropped off a little bit here, as we're seeing some tire fall off. York Watson getting some more repairs in that 08 car. Tough start to the race for Aaron Abel, too, as he was caught up in an incident on lap number 3, either lap 2 or 3. I'm trying to remember which one it was. This will certainly shake things up like a snow globe, as getting around of Robert Mikhailovich is that number 12 machine. And will he come down the pit lane this time around? He will not. Again, this is a very, very interesting strategy for a lot of these guys at the back end of the field. But you know what? When you're off pace and you're already kind of out of contention here, why not? As Dylan Matthews has gotten around Nathan Buchanan for the race lead in GT Daytona. But much like Bruno Giacomo, Dylan Matthews is looking to just end what has been a previous 2 months of just nothing but pure hell for that number 26 program. Failed to qualify for the Daytona 2.4 after finishing runner-up in the point standings last year, and you can go back to that championship race where she wrecked out early. Cards didn't fall her way. Esteban Lacer ended up winning the title for GT Daytona. And she is not fared too much well either on the MBCS side of things. She will start inside the top 10 tomorrow afternoon with a 9th place starting spot for that 75 car. But right now, Matthews in a pretty good spot, but Esteban Lacer has been closing up on these guys bit by bit in that 0.66, and this has been a pretty good battle for GT Daytona, all things considered. GTLM guys not coming down as Blaze will try to move past Robert Mikhailovich. And like we said, he's making his season debut after failing to qualify for the 2.4. Blaze looking for an angle around the 56, and that's going to open up a little bit of a gap for Logan Williams. Does he try and seize that gap going through the Omega? Not able to do so, but going up through Taco Bell balcony. He's going to have the inside. Does he have enough space to try and clear the 86? It's a good battle right now for this 3rd spot, and he will clear Blaze going through the ridge. So that'll move Logan Williams up to what would be, if this was the last lap, this would be Logan Williams' best result in a FMGTC car. Of course, the last couple of seasons have not been very nice for that Muscle Milk Jaguar XKR 6 program. And there's a team that's still just trying to find their footing as an organization bit by bit. But Logan Williams, as that Logan Sport team owner, they are on top of the world right now in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. 2 races in the books, 1 win at Daytona with Daniel Bouchard, who in the field right now currently sits in 5th for GT Daytona. So Robert Mikhailovich way off track, and he's just barely able to gain control of that Project Wildfire Ford Mustang. Mikhailovich, I think he's really running with everybody. I think just a standalone driver that has signed up last minute. Here he is in that PWF 56 car that Micah Knapp drove to victory back in the 2018 running of the Napa 2.4 hours of Daytona, back when Alex Graham did it over on then Napa Fan. Now AG the channel is Mikhailovich running a classic livery here. And now we got to see some cars coming down the pit lane, and here we go on lap number 22. The short pitting has commenced for GT Le Mans. Surrendering the race lead is going to be that 12 of Bruno Giacomo. John Andrews and Logan Williams will stay out. But here we are for the opening set of pit stops here on lap number 23 in terms of lead lap cars. Dylan Matthews does not come down the pit lane, and only 2 takers, one of them being the leader of Giacomo. So he will be out and away, making his first pit stop of the afternoon. And I do believe these guys with 45 to go, these guys are going to be cutting it very, very close on fuel. I don't know about coming down here before lap 30. Because these guys might be 5 laps short as Nathan Buchanan. He will make his opening pit stop of the afternoon in that Menards number 99. Actually, he's already made it as he comes back out on track. And now, oh, here we go, and it's feeding time on lap number 23 as John Andrews is going to bring the entire GTLM field down into the service area, and here we go. Coming down will be John Andrews, but again, these guys cannot mathematically make it to the end. They are going to need to make another pit stop. Because 44 laps to go. This is going to be very interesting, and Logan Williams got run over by Sarah Taylor. That looked a lot worse than it ended up being, as Williams doesn't look like there's a whole lot of damage on that Cinemax 6 car. That could have been a lot worse than it was, and we're going to have to see how that will affect that 6 machine, but Bruno Diacomo and Chris Harvey, those two fighting for third right now. As John Andrews was able to leapfrog the dominant car of the afternoon, and now Diacomo will be fighting for that third spot. Harvey was underside. He's able to get the run and potentially the 2-for-1 Friday afternoon special here in Rosamond. He'll get around Diacomo, and he will get around Logan Williams for the time being. Williams not able to get the run off of the corner. So Chris Harvey will move into the penultimate position, and we'll see when Dylan Matthews will come down the pit lane in the 26. She currently has indeed made a pit stop. So everybody on the grid should have made a pit stop already. And that should cycle things out here on lap number 25. Past the third of the waypoint through the Napa, California Grand Prix as everybody has made their opening pit stop of the afternoon, and now Williams, who remains out on track, so it doesn't look like that damage was too bad from that number 45 A&W machine. As we go on board with Logan Williams in that number 6 Muscle Milk machine, we're going to take you for a lap around the Willow Springs International Raceway, beginning from the Taco Bell balcony. It's a good battle for the race lead. Brewing right in front of us is Chris Harvey, trying to find a way around that 3 of John Andrews, who got caught behind lap traffic, and Logan Williams got a bird's eye seat for a great battle for the race lead here in GT Le Mans. Harvey right on the back end of that 3 machine as they're able to navigate around Will Parrish in their nose to tail. Off of turn number 9. Parrish will hold up the 6 for a brief moment as he will move around that Liqui Moly stricken Ford Mustang. You can just see how high some of the elevation is here at Willow Springs. Andrews and Harvey still going at it one another. They're still nose to tail, and Williams trying to close in a little bit, 1.2 seconds off of the lead that last time by. And he is certainly gaining in with these guys going nose to tail as they've caught up to more lap traffic. We now go on board with Chris Harvey. He's right behind that number 3 machine. They've caught up to Taylor Lay, the outside pole sitter, right now, right on the tail end of the lead lap, and I believe John Andrews is finally going to pull away a little bit. We'll look back and see where Logan Williams is. Williams about 15 car lengths back of that U.S. Army Black Knights 8 machine. This will be a good run generating here for Harvey off of the corner. Aaron Abel down the pit lane once again as we got a nice couple of laps, as nearly running into a fellow Jaguar there was John Andrews as he and Taylor Lane got a little too close for comfort there. And then a VRW 07 Jag Holding up Andrews just a little bit, but not enough for Chris Harvey to try to take advantage. And Harvey, a newcomer, the North American Sim Racing Network, got to go back to the Loves American Truck Series season from last year where he drove the 40 for Bradley Ream's program. Failed to finish the Daytona 2.4, if I'm not mistaken. But he started this race in 12th, and right now plus 10 on the pylon. So Nathan Buchanan has gone back to the race lead in GT Daytona. Dylan Matthews falling back a little bit there in the 26 as she came down the pit lane. She is right behind Michael Lewis. That is a battle for position on the pylon. And how about Alexander Rowe, the defending winner of this race? Started all the way back in 19th, and that Better Call Saul HTO Dodge Viper has found its way up to 3rd in GT Daytona as Esteban Lasair falling back a little bit there from Nathan Buchanan. Just trying to enjoy a Friday afternoon drive in the rolling countryside here in the Mojave Desert. It is, like we said, a beautiful atmosphere with the grass being about as green as you can ask for, and well, we've had an exciting race so far. It's been chaotic, it's been exciting, and it's certainly been a race of all time as tough break for the 33 of Roberto Crown Jr., who was caught up in an accident with Carson Miller, who was one of the 6 cars knocked out of this event. Miller blowing an engine and they got run over there by the 33. You know, and there were a lot of drivers who we thought were going to be heavy hitters in this race that were knocked out early. Again, you know, Carson Miller, Bryce Egan, Kyler Anderson, who served from the outside pole in GT Daytona, and of course, Lauren Martinez going out of the ballpark. We see a lot of drivers out of bounds and out of the racetrack. Again, you go back to over on the online side of things. We joked about it right at the top of the show, how Vincenzo Focasato literally had the sport ender in Atlanta a couple of days after I recorded that race. We had that race live streamed. That's when we're recording this Willow Springs race. But we had that. We've had Vincenzo Focasato out of the track before. You go back to Grand Junction Super Speedway or the Grand National Series or the Sportsman Series. 3rd time's the charm. As he and Apollo Hyde both going out of the ballpark at that track, and now we had Lauren Martinez saying Elvis has exited the building in that Victoria's Secret 000 car. .39 to go, 38 at the stripe. As John Andrews continues to show the way in GTLM, but he is run up onto some more lap down traffic. Damian Karanko and Rogel Dorn. Right now, the 2 drivers in the gun sight to that Ace Hardware number 3 Jaguar. Jaguar continuing to have some dominance at the front end of the field, but it's Chris Harvey who has found his way up into that 2nd spot. Was just waiting for an opportunity to pounce here as we approach the midway point through the race. Like we said, it's been a good one so far, and this is our shortest race of the season, only in about an hour and a half in terms of the actual race time. It's a nice crossover going through the balcony there for that Ace Hardware 3 machine as Andrews will put a Rogel Dorn a lap down in that 075 car. So weird not seeing Juan Rodriguez drive that 75. You got to go all the way back to the original Daytona 2.4 special event we did here in 2021. And I think up until this year, Juan Rodriguez had been a part of this FMGTC racing, particularly in that 75. And weird to see him out of the car, but Rogel Dorn has been trying to put as much of an effort as he can. Of course, he got caught up in an incident. It was the first car to break sideways in the race, and just trying to battle back as much as you can. And again, like we said, with how short of a race this is, there's no room for error. There's no room for misinterpretation. And An error on the first lap. It's kind of the way the cookie crumbles for Rogel Dorn, unfortunately, but good news for him. He is not going to finish at the tail end of the field in GT Daytona. It'll probably be towards the middle part, but again, we've got driver. We still got about over half of this race to go. We could see mechanical issues. We could see more crashes. We could see more cars going upside down. We've had 2 of those so far today. But you never know in racing, and you never know when here on the FMGTC, you never know in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series either. Is again, Juke Micronics 300K tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock. Right here on the 3 o'clock, I should say. Right here on the North American Sim Racing Network. So noon local time, 3 o'clock Eastern time over on the Eastern Seaboard. The East Coast is, in fact, the best coast. Aaron Abel will be one of the 20 drivers racing in tomorrow's contest. Logan Williams looking for an avenue around the 75 as he'll go up through the balcony. And again, this track, with how unique it is, we'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow, but again, you look at all 9 corners, you know, the Castro corner, a 90-degree high-speed left-handed turn. And then the Rabbits here, that double apex sweeping turn as well. I want to thank Wikipedia for actually having the track description, the corner descriptions on here. And you know what? You know, as John Andrews trying to find a way around Damian Karanko, you know, we'll exhibit some of these corners. Nearly got to the inside, nearly got a ledge in that 21, nearly spun out from the lead. But again, you go down this fast front straightaway into the Castro corner, which is a very, very high rate of speed into this corner. And like we were talking about, this double apex of the Rabbit's ear. So on the outside, trying to find that second apex there around the 21. And then turns 3 and 4, the Omega, which has been the biggest trouble spot of the afternoon. Just goes through turn 3 and will go through turn number 4. You got the big camber change up through the Omega as well. And then turn 5, the quick left-hander up through here, part of the Monroe Ridge. And then got the repass pass in turn number 7, setting things up for the back straightaway. Where you'll get to turn number 8, the sweeper. Probably the highest speed right-handed corner on the track. Again, the lead-in into this corner is the fastest on the entire track here at Willow Springs. Then it leads into turn number 9 with a big dip right before the apex, and then you're off from the front straightaway. That's you know, that's pretty much a lap around Willow Springs. But here we go, right at the midway point through the race, 34 down, we're on lap 34 with 34 to go. Next time by will be the halfway point through the Napa, California Grand Prix. It has been a fantastic one so far. Here from Rosamond, California on the North American Sim Racing Network's coverage. For offline doubleheader here between the FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship and the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. Here on the NASRN, Trey Wright on the call. Catching up to more lap down traffic has been John Andrews, has led 12 of the 34 laps so far on the afternoon. Will lead lap number 13 this next time by. He's up in front of everybody, thanks in most part to pit strategy. Bruno Giacomo has fallen back a little ways away after undercutting a little bit on that opening strategy, but don't let that fool you. Everybody still has to come down the pit area one more time. As Connor Monaco, the pole sitter for GT Daytona, he's going to come down once again. That'll likely be his second stop. Michael Lewis also coming down as well. Andrews continuing to putter his way around in that Ace Hardware 3 machine. 33 laps to go. And we'll see one more set of pit stops in this race. Or will we? I don't know. These guys are coming back down the pit lane a little bit earlier than we anticipated. It's Robert Mikhailovich, Samet Ozkin, again, those guys were involved in some accidents, but Philip Torres also coming down. Again, this is set to 1X, so a little bit surprised on how frequently these guys are pitting. We expected this to be just a one-stop race. But right now, everybody coming down to make what will probably be, will hopefully be their final pit stop of the afternoon. Because again, if they have to make another pit stop after this, it's just going to be complete chaos. Andrews electing to stay out to keep his rubber fresh. Continuing to dominate right now as Crown Jr. will be passed here by a couple more drivers, and this is going to be a sticky situation for lap down cars for Logan Williams. He's got two cars to try and navigate around as Karanko, slower Daytona, as well as the stricken 33 of Roberto Crown Jr. Crown Jr. goes up the track. The 6 of Williams still right on the tailgate of that 21. Now they give him a little blockade out in front, and Bruno Diacomo not able to pounce just yet. But Williams, oh, we got very loose as we had a couple of cars. We got one car off track, I think. That was Marcus Glitch who backed it into the wall in turn number 2, I think. Now Bruno Diacomo able to charge right up to the back end of that 6 machine. But now Marcus Glitch in the middle of the road. He's going to hold up Harvey a little bit going through the corner. Is Harvey going to slide around that Advocare 32? He will. So Chris Harvey will get around Marcus Glitch, and it's a good battle brewing here for third. Diacomo has fallen off just a little bit as now John Andrews has got the fastest lap in the race. A 1 minute 12.942 second lap. And again, qualifying, these guys were running that's the Mission Barbecue Cup Series qualifying I was looking at. In Q yesterday, these guys were running about the same as, these guys were running about 1:13 second laps. A tough break for Marcus Glitch, who is also already involved in a handful of incidences in this race. So Logan Williams has moved past the 33, and now Owen Miles looking to get around Bruno Diacomo to put that 59 back inside the top 4. Diacomo, I think he's regretting that early pit strategy. I think he might come down with the rest of these guys fairly soon. Glitch is down. Same thing with Will Parrish. Those guys having some previous damage. I really don't know if we're going to get, if this is going to be the money stop or not. You would think that this would be the money stop, and everybody came down once initially. But the pace has certainly slowed up just a little bit. Andrews, you know, this time by, the last time by, I should say, he was only 0.6 of a second off the pace. And we've seen these guys come down the pit lane when they're about maybe 1.2 seconds off the pace. But now everybody has just been building up right behind Roberto Crown Jr. It's a line of GTLM cars. Blaze will move underneath of Bradley Ream, who was caught behind that Great Clips Toyota. Ream looking for an option, and now he's going to try and use that 33 as a human shield. Taking the short way around through the rabbits here, and Ream will say thank you very much for that position back. But Russell Blaze right on the tailgate of that 40 once again, that Boston Red Sox car. Looking Very strong, very competitive, just outside of the top 10. Blaze is going to make it 3 wide as some contact between Ream and Crown Jr. They keep things straight for the time being, but these guys getting very racy in GT Le Mans. We go back in here in GT Daytona, where we haven't checked in on these guys in a while. Nathan Buchanan and Alexander Rowe separated by 0.8 of a second between those two automobiles, and they're looking for some good runs. Alexander Rowe looking to get 2 wins in a row. Here in that Better Call Saul number 88, he's got a fairly decent run on the 99, but Buchanan will hold serve with a 7-car length advantage over Alexander Rowe as they go through the Monroe Ridge. Problems for Philip Torres as he has gone around in car number 4. And that is, unfortunately for him, a tough break. See, he has backed it into the wall at some point on the track, and the hits keep coming for some of these GTLM and GT Daytona guys that are already marred towards the rear end of the pack. I think Caleb Rose has had a decent recovery in the 5. There he is in that Vodafone number 5 machine. Again, one of the 20 drivers that'll take to the grid tomorrow for the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. Will be starting 36th in car number 32. One of the previous winners in a Cup car here at this legendary facility back in 2024, I want to say. Or was it 2022? I believe it was 2022 in which Caleb Rose won here. I believe Torres may have went off in turn number 1. There's a fresh set of tire tracks going into that first corner. You'll of course see the replay of all differing incidences of the afternoon so far. It's been a chaotic start to this race, and the 27 laps to go. We're just getting ready to get rip roaring here for the rest of the chaos. Daniel Bouchard also with the damage in the 8. He's been caught up in a handful of incidences for your Daytona 500 winner from 2 weeks ago. Matthews right behind him. Bouchard will look for a decent run tomorrow, as again, like we've been saying, those Logan Sport cars have been incredible to start the season off. Bouchard still with the points lead. Coming into this race, but he will be starting midway through the field in 25th. Logan Williams will start 15th in car number 17 tomorrow. Some other drivers that will also be in the grid, like we said, Michael Lewis, who will start in 41st. Rogel Dorn will drive the 27 car tomorrow, and he will start in the 18th spot in that WeatherTech machine with his teammate and team owner of Matthew Huber for Vision Motorsports. We'll start from the pole position. Riley Sampson and Roberto Crown Jr. both on the grid tomorrow, as Crown Jr. starts 34th and Riley Sampson will start in the 20th spot. And it looks like he's got some front end damage on that 36 car as well, so a slight issue for him. He might come down the pit lane this next time by. Nathan Stapleton, Mateus Bento, they're also in the grid with Bento starting in P number 4. And I've got a very good feeling about Mateus Bento for tomorrow. Again, we saw just how good of a run that outside lane got right on the start of this race. Again, the start for the Cup cars is not nearly as dangerous as it is for these Grand Touring cars, but I'm liking Mateus Bento's chances of getting it done tomorrow. Trying to get his first career win on the North American Sim Racing Network as he starts from 4th. And the big staple of Nathan Stapleton, he'll be starting in the 35th spot deep in the field along with Roberto Crown Jr. Russell Blaze will start 11th tomorrow afternoon. Bradley Ream will start 40th car number 2, and currently car number 40 runs in 7th right now. That'd be funny if he was in 2nd. But all 3 Chevy Power Racing cars will be starting in the Cup race tomorrow, and unfortunately for them, 2 of their 3 cars in their shared alliance here on the FMGTC failed to make the race. With Eric Monaco failing to make the race, he'll be starting from 3rd, the inside of row number 2, and Reggie Fogelman will be starting in 31st tomorrow for the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. Owen Miles will be starting in 13th. Bruno Giacomo's not in the grid. Like we established, Logan Williams will start in 15th. Sarvi is not in the field. Neither is that 3 machine of John Andrews. And some of the other guys on the grid, like Dylan Matthews and Daniel Bouchard, as well as Sarah Taylor and Esteban Lasser, and Aaron Abel, as well as Alexander Rowe. They will be in the field tomorrow as well. Alexander Rowe, who only win so far in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series, has been on a road course that came at Bridgehampton last year. He will start from the 8th spot tomorrow. Aaron Abel in car number 48 tomorrow will start in the 39th spot, so fairly deep in the field. Esteban Lasser is down the pit lane as he will start in the, trying to see where Lasser will start on the grid, but here we go. We got some more cars coming down the pit lane, including the race leaders. Chris Harvey is going to stay out in the 8 car, and here we go with 24 laps to go. This should be the money stop. But John Andrews going off strategy than what he was originally, and it's the same thing with Logan Williams. Again, we saw the overcut work to perfection for John Andrews, so I am very surprised that he's going to lead he's going to be the first car down the pit lane in this lead lap, or in this lead pack for GT Le Mans. That Ace Hardware number 3 out of the pit lane. Logan Williams, he's going to have an extended stop. Remember, he got ran into right as he was coming out. And this is going to be a long and arduous stop for Logan Williams. He's finally able to repair that side damage. But that in all likelihood will take him out of the contention for the win. And that is such a tough break for that Muscle Milk Jaguar. Caleb Rose also down the pit lane, and same thing for your GT Daytona leader. Nathan Buchanan down into the service area. And here we go. Chris Harvey 1 lap later. Will he lead everybody in GT Le Mans into the pit area? He indeed will. So here we go. The money stop underway. Nathan Stapleton, he's going to stay out for an additional lap. And how about that for the big staple? He'll get a lap led in the 97, but Chris Harvey, who one pit stall away from being out front and leading that lap over Nathan Stapleton. And here we go. Sarah Taylor, she is 1 lap down, but she has completed what will likely be her final pit stop of the afternoon. Chris Harvey is out and away. Same thing with Owen Miles. He is going to leapfrog Russell Blaze, who has got to drive around the 49 of Kyle Wood. This guy's got to be careful merging back on in front of lead lap traffic. Riley Sampson having to make some repairs in the 36, and he's going to fall back. And where do these guys come out in relation to John Andrews? Andrews is going to come out as the race leader, but again, Chris Harvey has fresher tires in that 3 car. Owen Miles will jump up to 3rd, and Giacomo right now, pretty good hold of P4. Dylan Matthews right now the race leader for GT Daytona. She still has to make her final pit stop of the afternoon, I believe. Now Stapleton will come down. Is he going to gain any time on the race leaders? Contact between the 45 and the 66 as Lasser was leaning on to Taylor a little bit. And we're going to see if Stapleton's going to take 2 tires here. He will indeed take 4. I don't know. He might be able to leapfrog a couple of these guys. We got a long line of cars back in here. Stapleton just now heading back out of the pit lane. I really don't know how many cars he's going to leapfrog, as Mateus Bento having to jump on the brakes to avoid running over that JBL 97. But with 21 laps to go, that should in all likelihood be our final pit stop of the afternoon. As everything cycles out, I believe, no, Nathan Buchanan still with the race lead, as Alexander Rowe was ahead of him for a brief wrinkle in time, but Nathan Buchanan back out in the race lead for the time being in GT Daytona, as Alexander Rowe right now stuck behind the lap down car of Roberto Crown Jr. Aaron Abel is down the pit lane to make his final pit stop. How effective is this strategy call going to be for John Andrews? Last time by, he had a half a second lead over Chris Harvey. That might be a little bit bigger now. That might be at about 3/4 of a second. No, it's just over 1 second, the gap between Harvey and Andrews. But Andrews is stuck right in the thick of heavy lap traffic, and that lap traffic is not going to secede for the entirety of this race. Buchanan out front, but here we go. A great battle. Bruin is just barely losing it there through the Monroe Ridge was Alexander Rowe. He had a boatload of momentum, and he wisely just got off of the gas. I think he easily would have spun out that Better Call Saul Viper, and now he might get stuck behind the stricken Parrish machine. He'll get around that 20 machine with relative ease, as Crown Jr. will make his final pit stop. But these two drivers nose to tail for GT Daytona, and it is on in GTD. Here comes Rowe to the inside of Buchanan. Buchanan's going to get the run off of the Castro corner. Going through this double apex of the Rabbit's Ear, looking for the crossover there is that HTO, or that Better Call Saul HTO car. Not able to get anything going through the Rabbit's Ear, but these guys still just tantalizingly close to one another. We get a good look there from Nathan Buchanan. Will look out the back of the rear end, and you can see Jimmy McGill's face. So now it'll track back just a little bit here. You know, it looks like that the Monroe Ridge has been the weak spot for Alexander Rowe. He's been really good on every other part of the course, but the Monroe Ridge, that's really been where this 99 car has excelled all throughout this entire race. We go now on board with the Better Call Saul 88 machine, the defending winner of this race from 1 season ago. We're going to see just how much he closes in on that Menards 99. Again, he drafts very well with this Ford Mustang right in front of him, especially with Buchanan getting some dirty air off the back end of what looks to be one Carlos Espinoza. Up through the balcony they go, and again, Rowe just gets such a good run on Buchanan coming out of the balcony, but it's really been this section through here where Rowe has really started to struggle a little bit. He didn't struggle through the corner that time around. This might set up for another really good chance of potentially getting this race lead in GT Daytona. They're only separated by less than a couple of seconds of one another. Again, they're only separated by about maybe 7/10 of a second the last time by. It's going to be much closer this time around. Rowe right on the back end of that 99. Survey says for them this last time by, and only 0.2 of a second separate the leaders in GTD. Meanwhile, just under a full second separating everybody in GT Le Mans. We'll quickly check back on them here, as I thought I saw that is indeed some roof damage on Emily York Watson. That Intel car may have gone upside down. I'm not sure if that damage was already there, and a bad day will continue to get worse, and, well, we know how York Watson went upside down. The bad luck streak continues for Mr. Logan Williams. He's got some heavy rear end damage on that 6 car, and he was in store for what was potentially going to be a top 10 day. Tough break for him, and a tough break for a lot of these drivers. It's now caught in heavy lap traffic once again is this 3 machine. It's Robert Mikalovich trying to get around that 98 machine of Aaron Abel. That is 4th position on the racetrack, I believe. No, it is indeed not. Off of the pack is now Mikalovich. He's going to come back down the pit lane. We have got more cars coming into the pits. I don't know. We might get another set of pit stops here. With 17 to go. Make that 16 to go, I should say. We might get another set of pit stops. That would be wild. Way off track goes Buchanan. Here comes Alexander Rowe. This is for the race lead in GT Daytona, and Buchanan making one small mistake. Rowe trying to make him pay. Those two side by side for the race lead in GTD. And there's going to be one heck of a battle all throughout the rest of this race. Look at the run that he's got. Rowe with the slide job going through the sweeper. Does Buchanan get the crossover before going up through Castrol? Not able to get a ledge to the inside as glitches back down the pit lane. Again, these guys theoretically should be able to go 40 laps. Again, it's... I don't know. NR is being NR. But now Emily York Watson in front of that 8 machine as Chris Harvey will finally get around that stricken Intel machine. Still only 6 cars are out of the race, but plenty of cars have damage. And there's a really good cat and mouse battle brewing here between the 88 and the 99, and Buchanan, he's to the inside once again. Again, remember, this has been Rowe's weakest part of the track so far. Didn't look too bad that time around going through the ridge, and Buchanan not able to take advantage of it that time by. And again, if these guys somehow get together, Dylan Abrahamian is right now running about 18 seconds behind them, currently 1 lap down. There's Abrahamian on the 25, right now the 3rd place car in GT Daytona. You know, can these guys make it to the end? You know, theoretically, that should have been the money stop for those guys, because these guys have been coming down roughly every 30 laps or so. Or 20, 25 laps or so, I'd gauge. Will Parrish is down the pit lane once again. You know, we aren't seeing a whole lot of fall off, but I really don't know. You never know until the checkered flag falls, but we do know as Bruno Giacomo off course right as we're about to mention him. He's into the outside wall. Up on the embankment for a brief moment. He's going to lose only 1 spot after that, but he's off track once again. There might be something broken on that Granger machine. He's going to lose 2 spots to Blaze and Bento. And what was looking to be a fantastic afternoon is going to run into Sarah Taylor. Dips off for the course. He's on the sand. And will look to be a promising afternoon for that Granger 12 machine. Has gone down the tubes just a little bit here. Losing 2 spots and falling back into the 8th position. Back up in here, and Nathan Buchanan losing quite a bit of time to the 88. And now out front. Not permanently, because again, we don't know. There could be another pit stop. There could be any number of issues that go on with Alexander Rowe, but what a story that would be if Alexander Rowe was able to get back-to-back wins here at Willow. Under 15 laps to go in the Napa, California Grand Prix. It has been an exciting race, to say the very least. Esteban Lasser, who failed to make the Daytona 2.4, being passed by another driver that failed to make that same race, Owen Miles in the 59. Lasser, who is now up to third as he's gotten around Dylan Ebrahimian. Again, if something happens with these top two, which now that they're a little bit further apart, the likelihood of those two having their issues is a little bit less than we would expect. But again, that last time by, Buchanan closing back in just a little bit there. He is about 0.7 of a second off the back end of the 88 that last time by. Rowe's been having a really good race, and I really don't know if this 3-car is going to catch up to the 99 before this race is over. We got 12 laps to go, 11 when they come back around. And now, Chris Harvey has been slowly but steadily closing up on the back end of that Jaguar. Again, we saw that gap at around 0.7 of, or rather about a second these last couple of times, but now the gap is down to 0.78 of a second between the 3 and the 8. And I think that tire wear is definitely starting to come into play a little bit here the longer we get into this run. Remember, that 8 car has 1 lap fresher tires than the 3. So I don't know how much that is really going to play out here, but they've definitely pulled away from Owen Miles, who was caught up in lap traffic, and Miles looking for a decent season opener there in that 59, but John Andrews and Chris Harvey still nose to tail. Andrews started this race in 6th. Harvey started this race in 12th. Harvey looking for his first ever win on the channel, and Andrews looking for his first win in this 3 machine, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, he got the win at Watkins Glen last year in that back-to-back win, couple of wins. But he is absolutely under fire from Chris Harvey right now, and you know, we might get the 2 sets of leaders meeting each other before this race is said and done. Because again, these guys the last time by putting together a 113. Bradley Ream now with the fastest lap in GT Le Mans. So we go and take a look at all the fastest laps. No surprise to see that 88 car. The fastest lap for Alexander Rowe, 113.709, a 112.871 for Bradley Ream. But now Nathan Buchanan is closing back in on that 88 of Rowe. Rowe has been stuck behind Juan Carlos Espinoza for the last couple of laps. Meanwhile, the gap in GT Le Mans remaining stagnant at about 4.6 or about 4.67. I really think that this race is far from over for both of these classes, especially in GT Le Mans, where we've got that these differing tire strategies, which are really beginning to rear their head. Meanwhile, Nathan Stapleton, who had a massive overcut, you know, he's still running 113.3s, as Logan Williams the last time by he ran a 14.4. Ebrahimian and Blaze nearly coming to blows out of the balcony corner. I think Logan Williams might be continuing to fall back with that damage. Yeah, I think Nathan Stapleton might be closing in on him. That's a tough break for Williams. Those guys battling for that 11th spot. And well, Emily York-Watson has wrecked going into Omega. We'll take a look at that replay here real quick as we got 2 battles for the race lead in both classes. Here we go. Nathan Buchanan on the back end of Alexander Rowe in GT Daytona, and Chris Harvey on the back end of John Andrews in GT Le Mans. Under 10 laps to go. And this is what these fans came here for the preamble race of the weekend. And these guys, again, Alexander Rowe is the only one of these 4 drivers that are fighting for the win right now that'll be racing tomorrow. Here comes Harvey to the low side. Remember, Harvey has 1 lap fresher tires than John Andrews, and again, we mentioned it in the pre-race. We had a wreck in the last couple of laps in GT Le Mans last year. Right now, Owen Miles running 6 seconds behind these guys, and James Lawson isn't far behind. That's 59 as well. What a battle up in here for all of these drivers, and again, if these guys stay on the same lap as Juan Carlos Espinoza, will come back out in front. He's got to be careful merging in front of the GTLM leaders. They're able to get around the 11. No, Juan Carlos Espinoza will move around the 3, and that's going to force Andrews on the high side. Here comes Chris Harvey in that Army Black Knights Corvette. Is he going to take the race lead away? Yes, he will. And can he get around Juan Carlos Espinoza for a pick? He might. Andrews trying to battle back, and now Juan Carlos Espinoza runs over the 8 machine. Here comes Andrews to the inside. That is a lot of rear end damage on that Corvette for Harvey, but he's still fighting. Remember in last year's NBCS race, Esteban Lacer and Angel Gutierrez, they got into one another fighting for the race lead. But that is a lot of damage. That is a massive amount of drag for that spoiler angled as high as it is for Chris Harvey. Oh, he might have to come down the pit lane. That is a ton of rear end drag on the back end with 7 laps to go, as John Andrews has got the race lead right back there from the 8. Meanwhile, no lap traffic in front of the 88 and the 99 as Rowe and Buchanan continue to battle amongst each other here in the waning couple of moments in GT Daytona. Again, these two still on the lead lap. Now, I think they definitely know that they have got company behind them with the GTLM leaders catching up to them. But John Andrews now beginning to pull away a little bit. He had a 0.2 of a second lead over Harvey that last time by. And Harvey's still fighting for it. He's still in the thick of this battle. John Andrews has led 37 laps on the afternoon, the most by far. The only other driver that has led a lot has been Bruno Giacomo, who's fallen back to 8th. Harvey still charging right behind that Ace Hardware Jaguar. It's been a race that has been dominated by the Jags. Harvey way wide through the corner, and down the pit lane comes John Andrews. So they could not make it to the end on fuel. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is the money stop with 6 laps to go. Andrews could not make it to the end, and we're going to see anybody try and stretch it. Remember, Nathan Stapleton was the last car to come down of the GTLM field. Andrews down the pit lane. Is he going to take all 4 tires? Oh, that is a very, very long pit stop for John Andrews. No, it's a fuel system error. They quickly get it patched up. So I think these guys can make it to the end, and now Chris Harvey back out front. So it was a fuel system error for Andrews, and that is, if nobody comes down the pit lane, that is going to be such a heartbreaker. But are these guys going to run out of fuel? Again, they're playing it very fast and loose with their fuel numbers. 5, count 'em, 5 laps to go for Chris Harvey. And can Owen Miles close in time? Miles and Lawson were 4.7 seconds back of the 8 car. I think they closed in, yeah. They closed in by 0.4 of a second that last time by, but they're going to need to absolutely haul ass if they want to catch up to this stricken Army Black Knights machine. And Alexander Rowe putting a little bit of space between himself and Nathan Buchanan. And again, I don't see anybody else coming down the pit lane as Rogel Dorn looks like he got caught up in some sort of incident as he is right behind Marcus Glitch. So we go through the rest of the field. That is heartbreaking for John Andrews, a mechanical failure at the worst possible time. And, you know, and if Chris Harvey is able to hold on, you know, with all of the rear end damage on that Army Corvette, you know, I really think if John Andrews did not have that fuel system failure, he would have won this race, in my opinion. He would have had a great shot at it, but just going to wonder if and when. Another 0.3 of a second knocked off there by Owen Miles, but we only got 4 laps to go, so he, like we said, he has absolutely got to haul it. Will these guys remain out there in terms of fuel? Nobody else coming down the pit lane. Again, we said that last stop was going to be the money stop. And there's a really good battle between Owen Miles and James Lawson. Again, like we were saying, as Lawson is going to dive underneath the 59, he might have this second spot. And again, if something happens with that 8 car, remember, he got ran into by that ABC Supply Co 11 of Espinoza. Something definitely could happen on that 8 machine. So this is going to be a very fervent battle up in here for second in GTLM. And I think Nathan Buchanan's car has fallen off a little bit more than he wanted there in that Menards 99. Again, we could see something happen with that 88 of Alexander Rowe, but he's looking pretty right now, and same thing for the 8. 3 laps remain. The gap now down to 3.5 seconds. Again, I don't think that this 8 car is going to catch up to Nathan Buchanan for lap traffic. I don't think lap traffic is going to be a factor with Cement Oskin. I don't know. I don't think Connor Monaco is going to be a factor either. How about Bradley Ream? He is able to gain a lot of spots right now, running in 4th for car number 40. And again, we take a look at the point standings. You know, we don't know who's going to be the points leader after this, because we thought it was going to be John Andrews, but Andrews all the way back in 12th right now. You know, I think Riley Sampson's going to end up being the points leader based on he's just the highest of all the drivers that has not ran into total anarchy yet, at least. GT Daytona will take 3 laps to go. Meanwhile, it sticks high in the air for Chris Harvey, just trying to pedal that Army Black Knights machine to the end. That last time by, Owen Miles still. It's now a 3-second gap between the 8 and the 59. I really don't think that Miles is going to catch up. Again, if we had maybe 5 or even 4 laps to go, this would be Owen Miles' race to lose. But, you know, from not making the grid a month ago in Daytona to having a runner-up finish and gaining, you know, a ton of points here, he's still going to be behind a lot of drivers on the grid, but Owen Miles is trying to get things going here in this 59 car. But with a lap and a half to go, I don't know if it's going to be in the cards. I think Harvey, he might definitely have this one, unless something goes drastically wrong. But here we go. White flag will be in the air this time around. And Chris Harvey just needing to go 2.5 more miles around the Willow Springs International Raceway. 1 lap remains in the Napa, California Grand Prix, and the gap between him and the 59 is 2.7 seconds. I don't think Chris Harvey is going to catch up to Nathan Buchanan. So this is going to be 1 extra lap where just nothing can go wrong for Alexander Rowe. You go back to last year, Alexander Rowe getting his first ever win here in the FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship, but half a lap to go for Chris Harvey through Monroe Ridge for the final time. Owen Miles trying to book it around Juan Carlos Espinoza. It's got a little bit of a log jam behind him. But through the sweeper for one final time and off of turn number 8 and off of turn number 9 for the U.S. Army Black Knights. And Corvette, who has absolutely been dominated this whole weekend, Chris Harvey is a winner on the North American Sim Racing Network. He wins at Willow Springs for GT Le Mans. An absolute perfect drive for Harvey, and he started in 12th and is going to make his way all the way up to 1st as GT Daytona will enter their final lap. How about Alexander Rowe? Came in as a rookie driver last year. And he was only a rookie in NASRN terms, but he is no stranger to victory lane, and it's going to be a little too short there for Nathan Buchanan. Just wondering what you would just try to be able to do, but off of turn number 8. Needing one final perfect corner in this Better Call Saul HTO number 88 machine. Call it 2 in a row in Willow Springs. Back-to-back in Rosamond goes Alexander Rowe. He will take the Octane checkered flag for GT Daytona. He'll win here in Willow Springs. And that will indeed do it here for the Napa, California Grand Prix. Chris Harvey and Alexander Rowe, your 2 class winners, and a very chaotic first couple laps of this race, but ever since the end there, smooth sailing. And Chris Harvey, he had a little bit of rear end damage in that 8 machine, but he is able to get the job done for his first ever win here on the North American Sim Racing Network. If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe that he got any wins in Love's American Truck Series last year. I'm pretty sure Kyler Anderson got the lone win for Railfan Motorsports last year. But Chris Harvey gets the job done. Owen Miles with a much-deserved second-place finish. James Lawson rounds out the GTLM podium, and Bradley Ream and Russell Blaze round out the top 5. And you go down Bruno Giacomo. He led 30 or 21 laps in this race. He finishes in 7th. John Andrews was in position to win the race, dominated the second 2/3 of this event, and he will finish in 12th as Alexander Rowe and Nathan Buchanan, the 2 cars that were off, or the only cars that were on the lead lap for GT Daytona. He'll finish 1st and 2nd. Esteban Lasser, with a much-deserved 3rd-place run for that 66, Dylan Ibrahimian. And how about Daniel Bouchard battling back in that 08 car for a top 5 finish in GT Daytona? How about that for Bouchard? Again, this Logan Sport duo has been nothing but incredible over the course of these last couple of weeks. And, it's translated over here to the FMGTC side of things as well. But you take a look at all the drivers that failed to finish: Eric Blaze, Carson Miller, Bryce Egan, Angel Gutierrez, Kyler Anderson, and Lauren Martinez. 6 cars that failed to finish, all of them knocked out within the first 10 laps of the 67-lap event. But that is going to do it here from the Willow Springs International Raceway. Congratulations once again to Chris Harvey and Alexander Rowe for winning the Napa, California Grand Prix. Tomorrow afternoon, 20 of these drivers will are back in the saddle for 34 laps here at Willow Springs in the Mission Barbecue Cup Series. Coverage for the Juke Micronics 300K airs at 3 p.m. Eastern here at the Willow Springs International, right here on the NASRN. Next time we'll see the FMGTC in action will be on Saturday, March 14th for the Duncan New England Grand Prix. Coverage from the Papyrus Motorsports Park airs at noon Eastern Time, right here on your home for the Mission Barbecue Cup Series, the FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship, as well as the Fuel Racing League. here on the NESRN. Thank you so much for tuning in once again to today's coverage of the FlowMaster Grand Touring Championship. Here are your point standings after race number 2 of the 2026 FMGTC season. And from Rosamond, California, on behalf of the entire North American Sim Racing Network, my name is Trey Wright. Have a great evening, folks. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon for MVCS coverage at 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on the NESRN.